Hello and welcome to West Wales. I'm Becca, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about my next long-term creative project, which is a spinning project, and I'm going to invite you to join the spin along for it. I also have some ideas for destashing and just an update on a couple of projects that I started a little while ago. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is something that I started back in the summer when I bought a Gotland fleece and washed it, and I've been spinning it up, and I finally have a project for it. So excuse me, and specs on. So Knit Pearl Save the World. It was a second-hand book for me, and this has got a cute little cardigan with some lace work, and it's quite size inclusive, and it is kind of a worsted weight yarn they've written down here, which for me is about Aronish. It's about what I spin as my sort of default spin. So that is what I'm going to knit up when I finally finish spinning, and I'm nearly there. Okay, next one, my never-ending sock knit, and it's nearly there. I've just got to do the toes, and this was a spin along from my woolen mitten, and yeah, I keep showing these and I keep kind of making about this much progress on them each time I show them. I don't know why I can't finish these. I don't normally particularly get second sock syndrome, but I really have with these, and I think it's just I've had so many other things going on that I haven't sat down and given them some attention. Okay, so those were things that are sort of ongoing and that you've probably seen before. Now the next thing I'm going to talk about is destashing, and it does relate to my project. I shared in my last video that I wanted to do this rare breed study, if that makes sense, and that I wanted to do a spin along if people were interested, and people have been very interested, so definitely going to set that up. And I have an idea for a hashtag, and I think we'll sort of run it so that you can post about it here on YouTube, and also if you're on Instagram, post it on Instagram. I mean, I know there are other places to post, but it has to be a point in which you kind of say, actually, it's just going to be YouTube, Instagram. Otherwise, I'll go crazy trying to keep track of all the different places where people can post. So that is the plan. I really need to make some space before I start on this big spin, because potentially it's going to take me at least 6 months. There are 27 breeds that are part of the Rare Breed Survival Trust at risk list, and I'd like to spin something of all of them. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to do all 27 or any of them, actually. I mean, what you could do is find out what the rare breeds are in your country and spin some of those. Spin one of them, even if it's just something that you're not used to spinning and you want to have a go. One is fine, none is fine. There are no fibre arts police. No one's going to tell you off or mark your work. It's just a bit of fun, bit of community building, and where we can share our experience of working with these different wools. Now, before I start on that big project, I have got to clear some space, because I have far too much random bits of yarn that I've been spinning for years and years, and they just have gone in the box and stayed in the box, and they're in the stash. So what I have been doing is very simple. Oh, destroying my house. I'm just knitting squares, and these are for a charity knit. Now I have to write the details down, so you'll have to excuse me. I've got to get my book out, otherwise I will get all this wrong. Now the website I looked at was ukhandknitting.com, and they have a list of lots of different charity knits, and I just chose one from that. And what I chose was Knit a Square, which is for a South African project where blankets are made from the squares that are sent in. They do have other things you can knit as well, but the blankets are for vulnerable children and orphans, and you actually don't have to make up the blankets. You just send in an 8-inch or 20 centimetre square with, very importantly, really long tail, at least 20 centimetre 8-inch tail, and then what they call the knitting grandmothers, so that the older members of the community actually put them together into blankets, and then those blankets are distributed to those who need them, particularly orphans and vulnerable children. They're really quick to knit up, and I'm hoping I'm going to have quite a bit of space cleared, so I have got space to store my next project, because the end of the project is not just having spun the 27 different wools. I want to make a rug that I'm calling my rare breed rug, but as I am not very good at finishing projects, I'm really good at starting them, I kind of have to have a structure around it. So the structure I'm putting around it is that I'm going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then for the actual weaving the rug, I'm going to have a beginning, middle, and end. So the spinning is one part, the weaving is the other part. And at the moment, I'm at the beginning. So I'm preparing, I'm researching, I'm sourcing my different breeds and where I'm going to buy them from and how I'm going to buy them. For me, I'm going to buy combed top. I do not have the capacity to be dealing with raw fleece. I suspect there might be a couple of breeds where I'm going to have to. If that's the case, I want to do it more into the summer, not in the winter, which we are now going into, because I find it so difficult to get fleece to dry in the winter, just because we have quite a damp environment here. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of doing. I have bought 4 different breeds, whatever I'm calling them. Breeds, yes, they're breeds, aren't they? So I've bought 4 different breeds, 100 grams of each, and it's comb top, and that came from World of Wool, and I thought they would be really good ones to start with. The dog's just going mad because I think the postman's come, so we'll pick this up in a minute. So dog suitably satisfied, postman not eaten. Right, okay, so where was I? Yes, so so what I'm starting with is the 4 different breeds that are on the list and available from World of Wool, and they are the Long, Whiteface Woodland, the Hill Radna, and Manx Lothan, which I'm never quite sure if it's Manx Lothan or Manx Lothan. I think it's Manx Lothan, maybe. Anyway, Manx. And they should be here sometime next week. And so when they are, I will unpack them and decide which one I'm going to start with. So now it's sort of over to you. I'm going to use the hashtag #RareBreedSpinAlong, and that's going to be on Instagram. Obviously, any of the videos that are to do with the spin along, just, put in the comments what you're spinning, where it came from, why you're spinning it, all good stuff like that. And hopefully we can get a really good exchange going. I think it is quite possible that if you are in Australia or New Zealand or America, your list is going to look quite different to somebody who is in the UK. I don't know that, but I suspect it will be. I know on the Flora Mouflon podcast, she talked about the fact that there were various breeds in Australia that they really were dying out as and just not there anymore. So I think it's going to be quite different. Anyway, it'd be great to find out. So as for timescale, I mean, for me, it's going to be a long project. It does not have to be a long project for you. Just, as I've said, dip in and out. You can follow along with me, of course you can, or you can take your own route, because as I'm very fond of saying, there are no fibre arts police. So just do what makes you happy. I personally need to have a project and a structure, otherwise I just don't get things done, and that's probably to do with being neurodivergent, but it could just be my age, I don't know, or probably a mixture of both actually. Anyway, so that's the plan, and I'd love you to join in. I'm gonna try and get some things published on my Substack. I haven't written on anything on my Substack since can't even remember when. It's going to be a good 6 weeks ago, if not longer. So I want to try and get something written on the Substack and put together how to do a breed study, because I have written in the past on newsletters. So if you've got one of my old newsletters, you might well have that. But if not, I'm going to put it again on the Substack, and I'll leave a link to my Substack in the description below. Now, very quickly, I'm going to talk about how I'm going to do this on the channel, because I know there's been lots of other things on the channel. So Wednesdays is for wool, Sundays is for something else, if that makes sense. And again, that's more for me than for you, so I can kind of keep track of what I'm posting, where I'm posting it, and, you know, kind of make a bit of sense. And again, a little bit of structure, because I just need that kind of, those guidelines and that structure. Otherwise, I just go off at a tangent and, you know, kind of end up talking about all sorts of random stuff, which is okay. But I really noticed that I just hadn't made any woolly videos for ages. And, you know, really it is my first love. So, you know, I'm going to do that. Right. Dog's barking again. She probably wants to come in again. So I'm going to leave it there and say have a wonderful week, and I will see you hopefully on Sunday with something else.